Thank you for attending tonight's Candidates Forum hosted by the Wilson County News. And thank you, Elaine Kaloji, our publisher, for having the brilliant idea of actually providing this forum so that voters can cast informed ballots here in our county. I'm Annette Kilby-Smith, editor of the Wilson County News, and I'll be your moderator for this evening. And I invite any candidates who are here to please have a seat. Most of you are. Oh, we still have a few people entering the door. Now, if any of you happen to be on those posters in the post office, be warned, I have just posted a picture to Facebook showing everybody that we do have a crowded event tonight. So if you need to, you can just duck unobtrusively out. Sheriff and Mr. Foltz, duly noted. This is a town hall style forum. This is not, I repeat, not a debate. How this will happen is that we will pose questions to the candidates. Each candidate will have an opportunity to respond. There's not going to be a, hey, let me respond to his response. This is just, they'll get their time to actually say a little bit. Candidates were invited by letter and also in the newspaper, on Facebook, and on our website. Questions were posed to the candidates beforehand, and there are some also in reserve. We also invite any of you in the audience who have questions, that if you would like to actually put them on a card, we have cards and pens provided at the back, and you can write down your question and put it in the basket. As time permits, after the initial rounds of questioning, we will allow questions from the audience, but what we will be doing is actually stating that this question was posed by and your name on the card, and then read the question from here due to the sound system. Any questions so far? Can everybody hear me? Okay. At this point in time, we would like to invite, did we get the Girl Scouts? No? Okay. Then James Paul, I have a job for you, sir. If you would please stand, and we're going to open our event tonight with the pledge to the U.S. and Texas flags. And since they're not posted, we're just going to pledge where we stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas
flag. Pledge allegiance to one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. And if you would please remain standing, and Pastor John Conrad, if you would please come forward. No, he was in the room. He said he was here earlier.
Good to be with you. Let's take a moment to pray. Lord God, we come before you here this evening as people from different backgrounds and situations. We are all part of this one community. We have mothers, we have fathers, we have brothers and sisters and children and grandchildren, and we all want the best for them. Grant us hearts and minds to be mindful of more than ourselves. Allow for us to remember our neighbors. Grant us a desire to understand one another as well as to be understood. Grant us the tenacity to think in terms of us and not just us and them. Where there is controversy and division, grant reconciliation and respect. When the obstacles we face seem insurmountable, pull us together for the good, to build up and not to tear down. And finally, we lift up before you those who will be sharing this evening. We pray that their words and actions will make us proud to be part of Floresville. And for those who will be casting their votes in the near future, grant open and discerning minds for the sake of all. In Jesus' name, amen.
If you would please be seated. How's that sound? No, a little reverb. Does it sound good at the back now? Can you hear? Okay, we'll just try and remember to speak up just a little bit. At this time, I invite anyone who actually is a current office holder, if you would please stand and be recognized. If you are currently an elected official in the city or in the county, if you would please stand up. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Okay. As stated, this is a town hall style event. Invited to participate were those who were in contested races at the county level up to 81st District Attorney Office. Those invited include the following, and you'll see their name placards here on the desk. The following, as she scrambles through her papers. For Constable Precinct 1, Leonard Guzman and Thomas Huedo-Silas. For Constable Precinct 2, Devin Keene and Alberto Sanchez Jr. For the Office of Wilson County Sheriff, Emmanuel Foltz Sr. and Joe D. Tackett Jr. And pursuing the office of 81st District Attorney, serving Atascosa, Frio, Karnes, LaSalle, and Wilson Counties, Audrey Gossett Lewis and Renee Pena. Thank you all for being here. The forum starts with a series of questions after a brief introduction. So at this point in time, I'll invite, we're going to go from this side of the room to this. Briefly introduce yourself. You have about a minute to just say who you are, why you're pursuing this office, and any very quick remark you choose to make. And then we'll start a questioning.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Silvas. I am running for Constable Precinct number 1. Born and raised in Floresville. Raised my family in Precinct 1. I've been with the Wilson County Sheriff's Office for 18 years. And I'm pursuing this office because Constable's office needs a change. And by that, I mean a constable is a peace officer, and they have every right as a Texas peace officer to do more than what they currently have been doing.
My name is Emmanuel Foltz Sr. I'm currently employed at the Sheriff's Office. I'm currently running for my boss's position. It's nothing personal. I believe I have what it takes to become a sheriff and to serve as your sheriff here in Wilson County to protect and serve the people.
My name is Renee Pena. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I've been your district attorney for 12 years. I'm running because it's important that we continue the work that we started so long ago in terms of securing our border and securing our communities. We've made great strides in terms of the types of initiatives that we've created in the district to keep you safe and secure. When I say that, I'm talking about innovative ideas. Innovative ideas where partnerships are very important. Important in terms of the law enforcement effect, in terms of changing the model of how we approach that particular effort, and by that I mean how we detect, investigate, and ultimately prosecute crime. We've been very successful. I chaired the Violent Gang Task Force for the state of Texas, appointed by Governor Perry in 2011. Part of the Texas Attorney General's Human Trafficking Prevention Task Force. I've served as president of the Texas District and County Attorneys Association, and also the chairman of the board. So there's much work to be done, and I want to continue that work. I thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening. I'm Audrey Gossett Lewis. I'm running for district attorney. And the reason that I'm running for district attorney, and I'm running against my former boss, is because the priorities of the district attorney's office have shifted. And they've shifted away from where they should be. And I want to thank each of you tonight. First of all, Wilson County News for hosting this event, because I think the showing shows that the community cares. And that is my hope tonight. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank my supporters for being here. I want to thank Mr. Pena's supporters for being here. I want to thank those of you who are sitting on the fence and haven't decided who you're voting for being here, because I think all of us that are in this room share one common thread, and that is we care about our community and the future of our community. And that is why I'm running for district attorney. The district attorney's office priorities have shifted away from aggressively prosecuting criminals in the courtroom. Our job as the district attorney is to prosecute cases in the courtroom. And that is not being done. I never intended to run for political office. I've never had any political aspirations in my life. But when you know that something needs to be changed, someone has to stand up and take a stand. And I want criminals in our 5 counties to know that if you are caught, if there's evidence to indict you and sufficient evidence to go to trial, you will be aggressively prosecuted in this district. And that is why I'm running for district attorney.
Good evening, I'm Sheriff Joe Tackett. I've been your sheriff for the past 24 years. It's been an honor and a privilege. I've seen many changes in Wilson County in the past 24 years. I mean, we started out across the street in a 16-bed jail over there. We were hauling prisoners all over South Texas for 4 years, before we built our new facility. And the new facility has been great. We've been able to house U.S. Marshal prisoners, prisoners from other counties, and still we have a lot of things that we need to get done. We are still looking at software and mobile computers for our vehicles, but that has to be if we have the money. And at this time, we've been trying for the past 2 or 3 years, but the money just has not been there. And as taxpayers, all of you, you know, nobody wants their taxes raised, but we're going to continue to work, whether we have the computers or not. Thank you.
And we'll begin with the role of constable. So this question goes to Thomas Silvas. Describe the role of constable in Wilson County as you understand it. How do you compare this same role to that in other Texas counties? Would you change this, and describe how and why?
Constables right now in Wilson County have 2 duties: serve civil papers and be a bailiff for the JP. If elected, like I said, I have 18 years experience as a law enforcement officer in Wilson County. I will bring that experience to the constable office. Not just to serve civil papers or be a bailiff, patrol, take calls, and execute any type of warrants, assist other agencies. Floresville PD falls under precinct number 1. The sheriff's office falls under precinct number 1, and also DPS. And I will assist them as often as I could. And that's the change I would bring to the constable position, if elected.
We're missing a couple of candidates for the office of constable, but Devin Keene was unable to attend due to his work schedule, but he did actually provide a statement. He asked to be read in his absence, and his statement offers: I would like to express my gratitude for being invited to this candidates forum. However, it is with great regret that I am unable to attend due to conflicting obligations. I am on duty patrolling the streets of the city of Floresville and keeping the citizens of this great city and precinct 2 safe. Otherwise, like each of you, I would have loved to be part of this prestigious event. I would like to explain the duties of a constable in the state of Texas as I see them. A Texas constable is a certified law enforcement officer. Constables may serve civil process in any precinct in their county and any contiguous county, such as subpoenas, temporary restraining orders, and warrants anywhere in the state. Other duties of a Texas constable generally include providing bailiffs for the Justice of the Peace Court within his or her precinct and serving process issued there and from any other court. The only thing I would like to change about the constable's office is getting better equipment to help with being more active in the fight against drugs, human trafficking, and traffic enforcement within the community. In order to improve on the above issues, better collaboration with the sheriff's office also will be required, which I foresee no problem in accomplishing. Again, I hope you understand my reason for not attending this event. Thank you again for the invitation, and I wish the other candidates the very best of luck with what I'm sure will be a very successful evening. Again, that's on behalf of Deputy. And we'll proceed now to questions for the candidates for sheriff. The first question is this. A trustee on work detail from the jail carjacked and injured a citizen and escaped the custody of the sheriff's office. Describe how you will manage a trustee program, what kind of inmates will participate, the vetting process, and security measures to ensure public safety. And first of all, this will go to Emmanuel Foltz.
Could we ask the candidates to please speak up because people in the back are having a hard time hearing?
Close to the mic.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to explain trustee, and it's spelled T-R-U-S-T-Y. And what a trustee is a convict or a prisoner that is in jail, whether he's been convicted of a crime or not, and due to a process that is set up, he is selected to have special privileges inside the jail. The system for selecting trustees is called a classification, and it's a series of questions that are set up to go through and ask about the individual. And once you ask about the individual, you do what they're charged with, whether it's a misdemeanor or felony, and you also do a little background profile on them, and you come up with a classification as to whether or not this person is a safe person to be trusted in conducting chores and different duties in and around the jail. The changes that I would make, I believe that no inmate or prisoner with a felony charge should be utilized outside of the facility as a trustee. Whenever a trustee, whether he's on a misdemeanor charge, being a trustee outside, there should always be an armed officer out to maintain and to monitor what they do.
Thank you. And now Sheriff Tackett.
Okay, the trustee program, we, I could say, run a jail of 160 inmates. Without trustees, we would not be able to operate that facility unless we hired probably about 10 more people. But the classification, the jail lieutenant, one of the jail sergeants, they take requests from the inmates. They go over these requests and they determine whether this person is worthy of being a trustee. And at the time that Ms. Kilby was talking about one took off, that was because he went outside to take out the garbage, and there was only the cook, who was a corrections officer, went out. She should have had another officer with her, but she didn't. But that has been corrected. They no longer are taking the garbage out, and they have the guards or the corrections officers go and take the garbage out. So at this time, that has been corrected.
Second question for the sheriff candidates. Many area law enforcement agencies, including small municipal police departments, utilize systems such as CopSync or similar technology, and patrol vehicles are equipped with computers to readily access such systems, allowing officers on patrol to access, in a very timely manner, background information, warrants, and other items that help identify persons of interest, risks, and safety issues for officers on the scene. What technology does the Wilson County Sheriff's Office utilize, and what plans do you have to improve or address this? Joe Tackett first.
Okay, at this point, we do not have the CopSync or computers in our patrol vehicles, and it's because of the money. We don't have the money to purchase, or we don't have the money to make the payments, and so we depend on our dispatchers, and our dispatchers are very good at relaying all information. I mean, if it's something that's happened in another county, the dispatchers from that county will call our dispatchers will relay to any of the officers that are responding to a certain call. So, and the computers are only good while you're in the vehicle. Once you step out of that vehicle, you have to depend on your radio. So, like I said, we've been looking at them, but we just at this point have not had the funds to purchase any. Thank you.
Sergeant Foltz.
As Sheriff Tackett has said, we currently have no computer systems, an in-car computer system, and we solely depend on what the dispatchers can get, how it's given to them, which a lot of times cause us problems. The dispatchers provide the information via the radio, which may or may not be the most current information available. With that computer in that vehicle, as we approach a car, we can research a house, we can research a car, we can research an individual, we can know who, what we're getting out and getting ourselves into. Information that's not available to the dispatchers. Information that's not relayed to the dispatcher that is given to us. Is our lives out there on the line protecting you, the citizens of Wilson County. My personal knowledge of CopSync is limited, and there are other sources, software systems. There's other systems out there. There's VisaNet, there's CopSync. You have other large areas around us that have their own system set up that we can piggyback off of. Funding for CopSync and the computers and most of the equipment that we need is something that can be researched and done through grants. There's all type of grants out for law enforcement to get different types of equipment.
Those two questions were provided in advance to the candidates. The following questions were prepared in advance by the newspaper and were not provided, so this will be on the fly. Housing prisoners for other agencies has been a source of revenue for the county. However, some prisoners cannot be housed there due to the jail meeting only minimum standards. Reports have surfaced of a jail visit last June that revealed irregularities that raise concerns for prisoner, personnel, and public safety. How will you ensure jail standards to meet safety concerns and keep this revenue stream for the county?
Again, we get into the training of personnel. Training of personnel and ensuring that you have the correct amount of people that are there. That housing other prisoners is a good deal for the county because it allows the county to generate and make revenue from housing other prisoners. The bottom line is training and more personnel, and we have to get more personnel.
The Jail Standards Commission came down last summer. At the time, we were having a jailers course to get more certified jailers. And just so happened that one night, we were short because some of the officers were going to training and one ended up calling in sick. I was not notified, the jail administrator was not notified that the person called in sick, so we were short that night. Nothing happened, everything ran smooth, but we were short that night, so they did come down, and we were in non-compliance for a while. But at this time, we're in full compliance again, we have a full staff, and everything is working well. And holding the prisoners for other counties and the marshals, like I said, it's been a way to make some revenue for the county, and as long as we have room, we're going to continue to do that. Thank you.
Next question, Sheriff Tackett, we'll begin with you. Describe your plan for patrol coverage for the county, given ideal circumstances. This has been raised by a number of readers. How many deputies would be on patrol, including the length of shift, number of days on and off? Would they work in pairs? And how many reserves would there be?
At this time, we have 4 patrol officers and a sergeant on per shift. That's 5 officers. If no one is sick, no one takes a vacation, no one takes holiday time, whatever, but you know, we don't use reserves to patrol. We tried it at one time and it just did not work for us out in the county. So we do not work in pairs, but if there's something that sounds like it could be a problem out there when an officer's going, usually 2 officers will go.
The increase of officers, like the sheriff said, there's only 4 officers and a supervisor on at any 12-hour block. Anytime you see 3 or 4 of us together, that means either we're eating or we're going to go do something. And that's all the officers you have in the county. You see us speeding around here, you see us flying, you say, why is he going so fast? If someone was whooping on you, how fast do you want me to get there? We do need more officers. The number of officers need to at least double, and for right now. And that's to get us broken back down to some regular shifts and good coverage. I would like to use the reserves. The reserves can handle what I consider are our light calls, which are your burglar alarms, your crashes that they go to and conduct traffic for DPS. They can be put out there to do that. You bring some reserves on, they have to work X amount of hours a month, and so you get them out there, you let them get their hours doing just that. That relieves the officer, the regular patrol officer, to get out and do the other stuff.
We'll proceed on to questions for the district attorney candidates. Citizens with concerns about open meetings violations by school boards, city councils, and other elected bodies are directed to the district attorney's office for investigation and/or redress. How do or will your office handle such requests for investigation? How will you communicate with citizens, complainants, about these cases and their progress or lack of? Initially to Attorney Payne.
My office deals with those particular, you all hear me? My office deals with those requests in this manner. We assign to investigators within the office to make a determination on a case-by-case basis whether there's enough evidence to go forward with potentially presenting that particular case. If there is, then that is what happens. But please be aware that the discretion that the district attorney's office has is very important, because we do not want to hamper or perhaps tie down these particular entities, commissioners' courts, or city councils from being able to act on your behalf. In terms of us being able to communicate with you, if there's an ongoing investigation, this office cannot talk to you about that particular investigation. Why is that? Because we have to be considerate of the individuals who are suspects. What if those suspects in fact have not done anything wrong? We damage their reputation, and we can't have that.
First, if elected district attorney, I would instill an education program for our current public officials and future public officials to ensure that they are aware of what is truly an open meetings violation and what is not, first and foremost. And open that up to the public too, so you as a community are well aware of what to be looking for and what may be a violation and what may not be a violation. As district attorney, I will take those allegations very seriously if they are reported to my office. And initially, we would hand that to an investigator in the office who would determine if there's any evidence to substantiate that allegation. If there is that evidence, that case would be turned over to a Texas Ranger to be thoroughly investigated. And I will tell you that political parties aside, there will be no party politics when it comes to these violations. They will be handled appropriately and evenly and equally, not depending on what side of the party line you're on. And so I think that it's important, and I will say as an assistant DA for Wilson County for the last 7.5 years, I never did prosecute an open meetings violation. And does that mean there weren't any? No.
The next question reflects reader concerns. The county has had a number of vehicular homicides involving alcohol. Citizens have raised concerns about the perceived lack of substantial jail time or punishment in such cases. How will your office pursue these? What do you consider a just outcome in such cases? Ms. Lewis.
Intoxication manslaughters are the most heart-wrenching cases I have dealt with as a prosecutor. And they are tragic. In Wilson County, we had 5 within a 9-month period. 5 lives that were taken. And those cases and facts were different across the board. In each of those cases, they were very unique, but they were equally tragic because there was a loss and totally preventable loss of life. And that's what makes those cases so heart-wrenching. And as a result of that, the first thing that I did was put on a district-wide training on intoxication manslaughters to further educate and make sure that when we do bring a case to court, we do get the results that we need and we're getting justice for that victim and their families. In particular, I can tell you a case here, Omero Lugo. He was a young guy driving wrong way on 181 and killed Joey Lane, who was from Fall City, on his way to Floresville to go to a movie with his 2 buddies to celebrate his birthday. And Omero Lugo ran head-on into him and killed him instantly. And his 2 friends that were in that vehicle were seriously injured as well. And we were ready for trial, and Mr. Lugo, at the last minute, pled guilty, accepted responsibility for it. We had a contested hearing in front of the judge. I asked for the maximum sentence, which is 20. He was given 17 years. And that was tragic. It was tragic for both sides of that family. The defendant, they lost their family member for the years that he'll spend the rest of his, early youth years in prison. And now I counter that by, there were other cases where you had 2 intoxicated individuals in one vehicle and the vehicle rolls over. And that is, in those instances, may not be the appropriate punishment for a 20-year sentence may not be appropriate. And the punishment range for an intoxication manslaughter is anything from probation all the way up to 20 years. And that's because you want the judge and the jury to have the ability to base their decision on the facts and the evidence that support that. And I will tell you, as an assistant district attorney and if elected district attorney, we will continue to aggressively prosecute those cases to try to deter and get people to understand that there's no reason to get behind the wheel once you drink too much, and to let you know you can't undo what you've done by making that mistake of getting behind the wheel intoxicated. Once you've killed someone, you can't take it back. And I've seen so many times. I had a case where another case over in Lavernia, the same kind of thing, and a man was killed on his way to work. And it was tragic. And that defendant cried more than the victim. And so we will continue to aggressively prosecute that and send a message that we will not tolerate intoxication manslaughters and driving intoxicated in Wilson County or the district.
Those cases are in fact a case by case, driven by the particular fact pattern of that case in terms of what is going to happen. I can tell you this, that this office, my office under my direction, has given much training in many, many areas, and DWI is one. I want to be very clear about that. I've directed that office for many years. We brought people down to train on DWI. We've also brought individuals to train our officers on DWI issues. So it's something that we take very seriously, because we need to keep in mind that what we have is in fact victims, right? We lose a victim, and that particular person, we lose, not only are they lost, but think about this for just a moment. The potential people that come behind them, if they were young people, if they were not married, the children that are unborn because of that tragedy. So we take it very seriously. So as it's been explained, this particular crime is 2 to 20 in terms of what can happen to you. And of course, probation is always on the table. And that is dependent a lot upon, obviously, whether we offer that particular plea deal, or whether the judge at sentencing grants that plea, or whether the jury assesses that particular judgment. So there's a lot that goes on in terms of the administration of justice. It is not a simple fix solution. There are many things that must be weighed when we're talking about seeking justice for victims. We must represent the state of Texas zealously in terms of what is in the best interest of Texas. How can we be fair to the defendant? And ultimately, we cannot victimize the victims in the process. So it's a very, very important balance that we have to carry when we're coming to a decision on a particular case.
Citizens have expressed concern about the number of unsolved murders in Wilson County and the lack of prosecution in murder cases. Patty Vaughn, for instance, disappeared 20 years ago, yet no one has been held accountable. The Lambecks in Stockdale died 4 years ago. Still no arrests, no trial. Please address this.
The district attorney's office prosecutes cases primarily. We depend on investigations by our partners in law enforcement to determine whether there is enough probable cause to bring that particular case before the grand jury by the DA's office. We have to be able to prove that this particular person on this particular date, more or less, in this county, in the state of Texas, committed this crime. So when we are able to finally collect enough evidence, and even when law enforcement brings us the evidence, we review that particular file to make sure everything that needs to be done has been done. If it is, we present that particular evidence to the grand jury. The function of the grand jury, obviously, is to determine whether or not there is enough evidence there for them to indict. If that's true, then we go forward with the prosecution of that particular individual. So there are many steps that occur before it gets to us. In regard to these particular cases, they're ongoing cases. And ethically, I am bound and I am not allowed to talk about the specifics of those cases. I will tell you that we are committed, along with the Sheriff's Office and the Texas Rangers, in terms of developing the evidence to determine who are the individuals or individual who is responsible for these tragic losses.
I want to add that this is just in Wilson County. I know some of you are from outside of the county, but we have Pauline Diaz, who went missing in 2010. We have Sylvia Clark, who was murdered in her home in 2009. And there's others. Those are the ones that I know of off the top of my head because they weigh on my heart and mind. Because as a prosecutor, there is nothing worse than knowing someone may have committed a crime or believing that there is enough evidence that someone did something, but it may not be something you can use in court, and not being able to give that victim's family justice. There is nothing more heart-wrenching than that, because that is what your oath is as a prosecutor, is to do justice. And so when you can't give that family closure and can't give them justice, it is heartbreaking. And we have some of these victims whose parents have passed on. Mr. Lambeck's passed on, and Sylvia Clark's mother's passed on. Patty Vaughn's mother is on her deathbed. So for those to die and never see justice for their child, I can only imagine. As a mother, that would be heartbreaking to try to deal with. I will tell you, if elected DA, I'm the only candidate who has prosecuted multiple murder cases. And we will work with the investigative agencies and with law enforcement to try to make sure that law enforcement, one, has left no stone unturned. Because a lot of these cases, there is still work that needs to be done. And with the limited resources of the sheriff's office, sometimes they have to deal with what fire is burning hottest in front of them. And so if there's not something actively given to them on a case, they may not have the time to sit and go back through and make some phone calls and go back through some records and reevaluate it. But that's why the Texas Rangers have a cold case ranger that does sit there and can fine-tooth comb those things. And as district attorney, we will work to make sure that cases are in the hands of the rangers, that they are actively being investigated, that there is no stone left unturned. And once that's done, if there is sufficient evidence, we'll go forward, we will go to trial, and we will hold someone accountable for these heinous murders.
The District Attorney's Office has established a unit to address human trafficking in the district. How many such cases have been prosecuted in the 5 counties and in Wilson County? Have there been any convictions? How many victims have been rescued? And have any received restitution?
I can only answer that question based on what is public information. And I can tell you, based on the district clerk's records, there are 0 indictments for human trafficking in Wilson County. There are 0 indictments for human trafficking in Karnes County. And there are no human trafficking indictments in LaSalle County. There was one in Frio County where we had a DPS trooper that was very astute and picked up on the fact that there was a young girl that was riding with someone who was not related to her. And that, I think, has resulted in a conviction. There's pending cases over in Atascosa County, and my understanding is there's been a lot of resources expended and a lot of concern from law enforcement there because those suspects are from elsewhere, not from our jurisdiction, and we are paying for their housing every day, or we are paying to have them transported from Houston, California, other places, and we are paying for their lawyers. And those are concerns. If this is a crime that is occurring outside of the district that's being brought into the district, we have plenty of our crime here to deal with. We have drugs, we have child sexual abuse that's run rampant, and we have plenty of other cases that need to be prosecuted. Drugs is a repeated problem in this county that has not gone away and is not going to go away. So based on the information that is public record, that's my answer to that.
Human trafficking, what is it? Anybody know?
Selling of the souls of other people.
The selling of the souls is an accurate description. Selling children for sex. It is the issue of the day, and I know you're very aware of it because I know you've seen it on the newscast. It is a big issue. It is an issue that's directly, you can directly say that it is part of the drug trade. Today we're looking at trafficking and smuggling, and we're looking at drug trafficking in addition to that. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about organized crime. What Ms. Lewis was referring to is a case that I worked very closely with the Department of Public Safety for over 2 years. In that case, we ended up indicting over 29 individuals for money laundering, theft, human smuggling, human sex trafficking, and aggravated assault. They're coming through our district, they live in our district. That particular case arises out of Atascosa County. So let me take it home. She talked about the trooper that was astute. Well, that trooper was astute because we did a training in Pleasanton, Texas, to basically show our law enforcement folks what to look for in terms of who might be a victim of human sex trafficking. He remembered his training, and in Frio County, he pulled somebody over and he thought, this doesn't make any sense. Let me ask questions, let me figure out what's going on. Well, in fact, he recovered a 15-year-old girl that was being sold for sex. We indicted that individual. But before I go there, let me tell you that my office initiated the creation of the human sex trafficking because legislators, senators, and House reps ask me all the time, Renee, why aren't you doing anything about that very important issue? My response was very simple. We're not getting the cases. Why was that? Because we lack the resources, the skill set, and the understanding of that particular dark world. Of the 17 little girls that my